What's up everyone, Tim here from Everyday Tactical Vids, and today we're looking at a product from a company called Thyrm. Their website is Thyrm, Thyrm.com. And if you followed Everyday Tactical Vids for a while, you know that we like looking for products that are innovative, different, really thinking outside the box, and this one is definitely one of those products. So this is the Costa Switchback Tactical Flashlight Ring. You can get it on their website in two different sizes. The small is going to run you $16.99 and the large is going to run you $18.99. I've got the large one here on my Surefire Fury. The smaller one does fit on the Surefire Backup, and it's going to offer you a wide variety of uses, both when deploying a weapon and also just for EDC purposes. What we're looking at here is the back of the package of one of the switchbacks, and you can see we have, it says large here and then backup here, and then underneath the word large and underneath the word backup, it gives you information on the different models of flashlights that the different switchbacks will work on. So make sure if you order it from Thyrm, you get online, Thyrm.com, make sure that you have a flashlight that actually fits one of the switchbacks, because they don't work for every single flashlight out there right now. As they continue to have success with this, I'm sure that they'll design other versions that fit various different flashlights, but right now just make sure that you have one that fits the light that you're using. Here's a look at the switchback attached to my Surefire Fury. I do want to mention to you, if you get the larger version, it does have this included plastic pocket clip. The smaller backup version does not have a pocket clip included. To put it on your flashlight, very easy to do. Take off your end cap, slide the switchback on, slide your end cap through the switchback, and then you're basically just going to tighten this down on the threads, and now it's attached and you're ready to go. Depending on which size switchback you order, you will get the appropriately sized O-ring, and essentially it's going to go between the base of your flashlight body and then your end cap. When you put it in, it'll basically be underneath just the edge of the switchback there. As you can see, I've got both the O-rings for the large and the small. I'm not using it because I just found I put the switchback on, I put the tail cap on, and it's plenty secure and it stays in place. Okay, so if you're going to carry the Costa Ludus switchback from Thyrm as an EDC item, and you're going to use it not with a weapon but just by itself, you're going to want to have it in your pocket and have the clip facing back, and I'll show you why in a moment, because when you deploy it, if the clip is facing forward, you're going to have to be fiddling with it. But clip facing back, this is the Surefire Fury. If you don't like a larger EDC flashlight, then this is probably not the thing for you. The Fury doesn't bother me at all to have this in my pocket as long as there's a clip. If I didn't have the clip and it was bouncing around, that kind of annoys me, but as it's set up now, this is totally fine. And you can see when I just drop my shirt down, it's not like it's making a huge, mark, it's not printing. And now we'll show you what it looks like to actually deploy the flashlight. All right, so here's what deployment looks like. You're gonna take it out using your first finger. You're gonna slide your first finger into the loop, and then as you pull it out, you're basically gonna flip it around to get it into your hand, like that. Now I'll tell you that when I first got this and saw people in the videos who had already reviewed it, I thought it's going to take me a long time to figure that out. It kind of happens intuitively. It's a different thing when you have a weapon that you're dealing with, but just as far as an EDC option for your light, you can see that's how you take it out. We'll show you what it looks like to deploy it with a weapon in a moment, but pretty easy to do with a little bit of practice, like so. Right, this is my buddy Nathan, and he's helped out with some other videos here on Everyday Tactical Vids. He gets out about on average once a month for 2 hours to do some significant training, and then just when opportunity arises. So he's not out every weekend shooting all the time. He's a CCW guy. And let's talk a little bit about the switchback. So you've been using it for about 10 minutes. Just give us some of your initial thoughts on the Costa Ludus switchback by Thyrm.
Yeah, like Tim's talked about, just drawing it with your normal hand that you're most used to using is very intuitive. Obviously, if you're going to deploy this with a weapon, which is what we're going to try to demonstrate here, now I'm dealing with a hand that I'm not as dexterous with. So he's given me, like you said, about 10 minutes to work with it. I found it to be a little tricky, so we'll demonstrate it and you can watch me kind of fumble through it, and we'll get some shots off with it actually deployed. But I would say maybe part of it is hand geometry. I know we watched in another video, the guys that created it, and he makes it look, again, fairly easy. Now his hand configuration might be a little bit different than mine, so I don't know how much of that size, hand size plays into it and things like that. But this is going to be something you are going to want to practice with, definitely, if also it's going to be used to help defend your life, as with anything in that kind of scenario. But I wouldn't say it's been impossible in the past 10 minutes to get some sort of success out of it. The flashlight itself too obviously lends a little bit of kind of standard operation learning as well, since the Fury is a partial low light distribution, and the second one is actually your bright one, which is what you're going to be wanting to use in that critical situation. So remembering to have to tap it twice is going to be a little tricky when it comes to this placement on the finger on a hand that you're not used to using for all of your fine everyday work. So like I said, we'll give it a go and see what happens.
And Nathan, you're running a G26, right?
Yeah, yep. So again, very common on the concealed carry end of things as far as what people are used to.
All right, let's get some footage of the switchback in use. All right, we're gonna get some thoughts now from Nathan after using the switchback from Costa Ludus made by Thyrm.
Yeah, just a little AAR. So what I've noticed trying to do it, obviously with the support hand here, is when I mount this in my pocket, yes, it's clipped. This is kind of like all the sit down, everything like that. That's how it's gonna end up. What I need to have is my index finger in that loop. So I've got to kind of basically fish in there to draw that out. Now I'm not looking to do any flipping unless I'm doing the search, which is fine. So it comes out basically ready to go. But I got to drive my finger in there enough so that when I come out, I can actuate that and bring it together with my, with my weapon. The other thing I've noticed is, again, it could just be hand geometry, but it is, while you can get that thumbs forward grip, the one that everyone's trying to work on getting and doing well, for me at least with the 26, I do have a little bit of a void between here and my other hand coming around the front of the pistol grip. As I'm trying to actuate that light, I create a little bit of an airspace. So I don't feel like I have quite the real estate that I would want, versus if I use like TLR1 on a larger frame gun. That's obviously, everything's essentially hands-free except for your thumb, and I know what they're trying to replicate here is that just thumb actuation, which you can do, and it feels familiar, but it's going to take a little while to get used to, okay, what kind of grip, at least for me, with my body mechanics am I sacrificing in bringing that to the gun and deploying it. Again, you're going to want to practice with it. You guys saw how I did. I'm not winning any competitions, and I'm definitely not that super smooth with it, but I was able to do it after 10-15 minutes of tinkering around with it. So check it out, guys. It's definitely worth considering. Obviously this is backed by a name that we all know and love, so if they thought it was worth it, clearly there's some time spent in investment in this.
Back in the studio now to offer you some final thoughts on the Costa Ludus switchback made by Thyrm. The first thing I'll tell you is that I have used it on the Fury made by Surefire, but I have not used it on the Surefire backup. So I hope to acquire one of the backups in the future, and then I'll do an additional review and talk about that one, just because the lights are different sizes and it might actually feel different in the application of using the switchback. Now when it comes to using the switchback as something to attach to your Surefire Fury, just in an EDC setup, not connected to deploying it with a weapon, I can tell you the main thing I really like about it is that we're now adding a clip to my Surefire Fury, and I like the fact that I can carry it in one of my front jeans pockets or pants pockets and not have it moving all over the place. Usually when I would be running with the Fury as my EDC light, I would have to have it in one of the pockets on the side of a pair of carpenter jeans or carpenter pants, but now that I've got this clip, I find that it's quite easy to actually put it in my pocket and it's not moving all over the place. So that's a major plus. The other thing I like is the ring. Again, as I mentioned multiple times, I thought when I saw the other guys deploy it in other videos, I thought that's going to take a while for me to learn, but it is quite intuitive. You actually get it out and, swing it around like this. It's quite easy to do. So as an EDC item, if you're already running the Surefire Fury, I'm going to say probably adding a little bit of extra size and weight is not going to be a big deal for you. The guys from Firelance mentioned the same thing. If you're running the Surefire Fury, you probably don't mind having a larger light on you already. So I found the additional size and minor weight addition is well worth it when it comes to adding a switchback to your Surefire Fury. Now when it comes to running the switchback in conjunction with your weapon, the main goal I had by giving it to my buddy Nathan and saying, hey, here's a little bit of time to test it out and practice with it, and then we're going to shoot the video, was to see what's the learning curve like. When he first was deploying it with his Glock 26, it was pretty uncomfortable for him. He couldn't put the pieces together, but again, within probably 10, 15, 20 minutes, he felt much more comfortable with it. So if you gave him a full day of training using the Costa Ludus switchback, I'm sure that he'd be continuing to improve notably. And after 4 or 5 applications, 4 or 5 training sessions, I think he'd be very proficient with the switchback. Here's one final thought. The last time I was at the range, I was using a G17 with the Streamlight TLR1 right there on the weapon. Now the advantage to having a weapon that has an integrated light is that it's already there, and with just a simple flick you can be turning the light on and off. The downside is that it certainly makes the weapon heavier, and if you have a holster, you certainly have to have a holster that fits the TLR1 and the G17, or you need to have multiple holsters if sometimes you're running it without the light and sometimes with the light. So there are pluses and minuses to having a light right there on the weapon. The downside to the Costa Ludus switchback is that it's not right there on the weapon. Definitely the upside is that you can have it in your pocket and you don't have to have a light attached to your weapon, which does add additional weight and can be a little bit clunky, but you still, by utilizing the switchback, can have illumination in low light settings. So the inevitable question for a lot of people is then going to be, should I have an integrated light system like the TLR1, or should I use the switchback? As is often the case with those types of questions, like what's the best holster, what's the best survival knife, what's the best EDC knife, it's really going to be a preference thing. I would encourage you, if you're going to use the switchback, to train with it quite a bit so you can be proficient as you use it. I will tell you that I was impressed with how quickly, after using it for a little while, you can start to feel comfortable with it. I've enjoyed using the switchback, and I'll be using it more and more in the months to come, so stay tuned and I'll have a report after some long-term extended use with the Costa Ludus switchback made by Thyrm. In the meantime, I want to send you to their website. It's thyrm.com, Thyrm.com, and over there you can purchase one of the switchbacks or just find out more information about this item. Thanks as always for checking out our videos. Please subscribe to Everyday Tactical Vids if you haven't done so already here on YouTube. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, check us out on Instagram and Tumblr as well. Take care.